Hey, Matt. What's going on, bro? Thought I might find you here. Almost makes me want to kneel down and praise the Lord. Almost for making it so easy to get to you. You said we didn't want to hear any excuses, and what's the first thing he does? So, if I slap you, you'll turn the other cheek?
Hey, that's it. That's it. Hello everyone. My name is Kay, and this is the K Touch, and I have a special guest on my podcast today. He has been on notable movies such as What Would Jesus Do? He's been on Ridley Scott's Prophets of Science Fiction, and recently has starred in a movie somewhere in Montana. I have the absolute privilege of speaking with Matt Drago today. Matt, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you so much, guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. I really appreciate you having me today.
You don't know how excited I am. Just so you know, you are the first Hollywood actor that I have had the privilege of speaking with. So I feel it's a kind of surreal experience at the moment. So please, if I act a bit out of sorts, it's just because I'm trying to temper my excitement. So take it the way it comes. Well, it's really good to see you. How are you doing? How's the weather where you are?
It's nice. I mean, LA is great. No complaints here.
No complaints. Over here, I'm over here in the UK. I'm in a small town called Andover, and we've just slightly been moving from the winter into spring. So the daffodils are coming out. It's looking really pretty. I'm just hoping we don't get too much rain, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah, so let's just crack on with this. Matt, I am so excited to meet you. I'm going to start off really with what inspired you to be an actor, honestly. How did this start for you?
Yeah, it honestly started since the day I arrived on this planet. Since I can remember, I really loved telling stories. As a kid, I was, growing up in the foothills of Virginia, right at the Appalachian Valley in Shenandoah National Park area in Virginia. And honestly, I just really was one of those kids that just needed my own creativity, my own imagination, just to kind of, tell good stories, right? And for me, that really sparked to getting into the theaters as soon as I could. And so I really did. I couldn't get enough of the theater growing up. You'd find me on stage. I think I did probably about 25 stage shows growing up in rural Virginia. And I just really found a love for it. I found an impact for what good storytelling could do. I found myself with my first professional paying gig being in the dinner theaters. And I think that's really at the point where I knew the amount of work it was going to take to really achieve my dreams as an actor. Because again, dinner theater for your listeners is you're on stage and you're singing your ballad on stage and you're acting, and then you come off stage and you're clearing plates and you're refilling drinks, right? So it's a humble practice, and I really felt like it taught me that like my dream was going to take work, and I really did appreciate so much of that time in my life. I was 14, 15 years old, and I would just get such great feedback from so many different people, and it really just sparked the next step of my journey, which was to go back to New York City, because both my mom and dad were originally from New York City, and I got to live with my grandmother in New York City on the Upper West Side, and really just pursue my dream and really work on the craft of acting with some really great teachers.
It's interesting. You said it from when you were young. That's just confidence there. You already knew what it is you wanted to do. So you said the feedback was really encouraging. Are you an only sibling? And if not, how was the feedback from that? Because I've got three brothers and one sister, and I know they can be in lovingly mean when I tell them a few things. You know how it is with sibling rivalry and all that stuff. How was it with siblings growing up?
Well, believe it or not, Kay, I also have three brothers and one sister. That's ironic, but right? It's ironic, but it's true. It's interesting for me because I always jokingly say I'm like the ultimate psychological experiment, because technically I'm an only child, but I have three older half brothers from my dad's first marriage, and then they got divorced. My mom and dad just had me, and then my mom and dad got divorced, and my mom remarried and had my sister.
Wow.
So I've been the oldest, the youngest, and an only child at different parts of my life. And so I think in some ways it's kind of given me the ability to understand all aspects of childhood, whether it's,
Mm,
being the youngest of four boys, being an only child for a little while, or
mm.
to be the oldest of two. It's kind of given me the perspective of kind of understanding childhood dynamics, I guess you
Yeah,
could
yeah.
say.
Wow, that's really good though. That you've had that experience. I have one younger sister, but two older brothers. I think that's where we're different because I'm the middle child.
Okay.
But thanks for that intro. What was your first acting experience? Now you talked about, acting on stage, a lot of informal gigs. But what as far back as you can remember, what was the earliest acting experience you had?
Yeah, I was 4 years old and, getting on the stage, just in the choir. It was a show called Follies, Rogers and Hammerstein's Follies.
Okay,
And yeah, I did that. I did Music Man right afterwards.
okay,
And, just, really getting into theater as young as I could,
yeah,
really just kind of was like being around my people, being around people that really loved storytelling as much as I did. And
okay.
so I think it really just kind of, became a little world that I love to escape to as much as possible.
So would you say you're kind of like a natural for this gig? Because a lot of people try out different things. I'm trying out podcasting. I mean, I think I'm happy with it, and I did it a couple of times and found out I'm not really nervous, and it's like I'm in my element. But you seem like you're quite confident that you've always been a natural for this kind of thing.
I think I always realized the power that storytelling had, and I think it was something that was just born inside of me, where I felt
Mm,
like it was something that I gravitated towards, something that I loved, but also something that I felt like could make an impact in the world too.
ooh,
We all need good stories, and
yeah.
I think when I started to, get people reflecting on my work as an actor,
Mm,
it really just motivated me towards that next step, which was to really hone in on my craft and my process as an actor, which is
yeah.
why I went to New York City and I studied with some great acting teachers up there, including Terry Schreiber, who got Edward Norton his start. He's a phenomenal acting teacher. He became like a grandfather to me. And he really did. He was kind of one of those people that really just tried to kind of love it out of me and
Mm,
find different processes that I would gravitate towards to build my craft and to understand the technique that goes into the work that you do as an actor, because
mm,
a lot of it is it's process, it's creating different ways to really connect with your characters
yeah.
and to bring yourself to the character. And I just think that I caught the bug as early as I can remember, because I just really felt like there was just immense power in
Yeah.
the gift of storytelling.
It's interesting that I love the confidence that you exude as you speak, and that can only come from a place of probably trying it out and enjoying the process. So we're going to come to the process. I particularly it's always good when you hear people talk about how wonderful the experience is. I wanna if possible find out if there have been days when you don't feel like acting and how you cross that threshold, because there are days when I don't feel like podcasting. There are days when I don't feel like doing anything. But if you've got a deadline, you've got people expecting you to play a particular role. I'm really interested when you say the process. How do you go through that when you know you don't feel like it?
I mean, for me, I actually always do feel like it. I love acting. Like I really do. Every time I get an audition, is a joy for me. Every time, I get the opportunity to act or to bring myself to a character, I really do. I still feel like a child.
Wow.
I still get that joy out of it.
Hmm.
In fact, I feel like I'm sad when I'm not doing it, to be perfectly honest. So I really do feel like it's a fire that's always burned inside of me,
Yeah.
since I can remember. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I understand that there are ways that you need to escape from it to keep
Hmm.
that passion alive. I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah.
a reality.
Hmm.
For me, like I love sports. I love my football days. I'm a fourth degree black belt in Okinawa and Shoin-ryu. I grew
Oof.
up in a
That
dojo.
sounds
Um,
yeah.
so I grew up with my dad, actually, who is my sensei,
Oh.
and growing up on the dojo deck, with my extended karate family at the Front Royal Karate Club,
Wow.
was just a really I was a way to keep kind of balanced in my life.
Hmm.
I also have found other things that I love to do in my life. I actually learned how to fly a plane before I could drive a car, believe it
Wow.
or not.
Wow.
I was I was driven to the airport by my dad, and I learned how to solo. I got my license at 16 years old as a VFR pilot, which is a visual flight rules pilot, and then I got my instrument rating quite shortly after that. So I think I've always been curious about a lot of different things. I also became an adventure diver, a scuba diver. So I do like shipwreck dives and stuff like that. So I really, honestly, okay, I just like to extract everything I can out of life, and I feel like the best way that I felt like I could do that, or at an early age, was to be an actor, because you get to uniquely dive into so many different human psyches, and
Yes, you
to
do.
really just kind of immerse yourself in so many different characters. And I feel like it's for me, it felt like the not only the best way I could extract the most out of life, but the best way that I could impact others within my
Yeah.
life
Yeah,
too,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
telling and sharing good stories at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, I have the reason why I said it, let's not go into that when you mentioned martial arts is because I've got a blue belt in Taekwondo, and that
Nice.
was I'd say, in terms of my martial arts experience, the journey of getting that blue belt in itself was probably the worst, the most, no, not the worst, but it pushed me in a way that I never want to be pushed anymore. But I do understand the discipline associated with learning the martial arts. So you are really you're a bunch of things. I must admit. Okay, so challenges you faced starting your career. Can you share a bit of that? The journey, if you faced any challenges, and what that was like.
Of course. I mean, I think really early on, I understood that the challenges were going to be there in terms of, how do I continue to make money while I'm pursuing a dream?
Yeah.
Moving to New York City, it's a very expensive city. Now that I'm in LA, very expensive cities. So I've had to find ways to, survive. And many different ways. I used to close down bars at 4 or 5 a.m.
Wow.
As a bartender, and I got into my college at Marymount Manhattan College, and I was in the work study program. I worked at the library. I bought my books cheap. I found ways to. I got a half ride from Marymount Manhattan College, so I saved a lot of money. I lived with my grandmother in New York City, so I got to basically live at home, which was
Yep.
really important for my development, because it gave me a safe place to come home to
Yep.
every night, which was really, really special in a big city, just to feel like I had somebody that was taking care of me
Yep.
and looking
Yep.
out for me. So those were special times in my life, because I feel like for me, I understood that, I was going to continue to work and work hard, but I was also going to, take that money that I'd earned and put it back into my practice. And so, I would hire great voice teachers, and I would ask around. I worked with the great Ron Shetler, who owned a wonderful voice studio in Midtown, and I worked with Michael Levine, who is a great audition coach, and really just trained my practice on how to create good auditions for the Broadway stage. And then obviously studying with Terry Schreiber for 2.5 years was just really important for me
Yep.
while I was in college. So again, I think I realized pretty early on, like, you have to make money, but sometimes you have to spend it too to develop your craft,
Yeah.
and continue to grow as an artist.
Yeah, that's good, and I'm glad you had. It's really encouraging that you had people in your corner, and you still have people in your corner, kind of cheering you on, and you've got that structure, that encouragement, because you've clearly said that there were parts of it that your grandmother and other people having bits and pieces to kind of push you forward when it was necessary, to provide that support. What would you say are your greatest models, or people you look up to when it comes? I know you've mentioned a few people already, but on screen, when you look at these people, who would you say, you know what, I want to be like that someday, or I'm happy with how he or she's moving, and I want that trajectory for myself as an actor.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually spent this week, really just diving deep into a lot of my, actor idols growing up. And, I'm a Sicilian kid, so I definitely very just, I mean, I'd stay up nights and watch the great Al Pacino and
Yeah.
Robert De Niro,
Mhm.
and the Godfather trilogy. And
Mm.
those are movies that really just speak to me. And it was just, again, like the subtleties in their craft and their performance, the nuances that
Yeah.
they brought to their characters, that they still bring to their characters, is just extraordinary to me, because I can see the work that they put into it. I can see the love and the passion that they put
Yeah.
into it. And I see just again, just that love that they have for the craft is something that's rubbed off on me. In that hopeful next generation of being able to tell stories much like they have.
Yeah.
So being able to really reflect again with film is so great because you can always look back. Like I just, watched Raging Bull again. I watched Taxi Driver again.
Yep.
I just
Yep.
watched the Godfather trilogy
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. Yeah. Classic. Yeah.
I've been going through the Scorsese movies, Goodfellas, and
Yeah.
just like and now The Irishman, which is actually the first Scorsese movie that Al Pacino's ever been in, believe it or not.
All right.
Was really inspiring seeing him playing Jimmy Hoffa, which again, there's unique challenges as an actor, no matter where you're at in your
Yeah.
career. This is one of the few times that Al's actually played somebody that is a historical person in
Character.
Jimmy
Yeah.
Hoffa, right? So there's a little bit more that you can dive into because you're working off of somebody that really existed.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I
Yeah.
really, I really do. I give it back to, the career trajectory because you never know what's going to happen. I think you just really have to have this belief in yourself, but you also have to really just keep working and keep studying and keep understanding your own process and your own craft.
Yep.
Because, as crazy as it sounds, like Al Pacino's third film was The Godfather, and it set him on this course
Yep.
to,
Yep. Yep.
where he's at now. And sometimes it really it depends on a lot of times like the relationships that you build,
Yep.
because you jive with a director or a producer and you want to keep working with each other over and over again because you understand each other. I
Yep.
always say that one of the most intimate relationships is one between a director and an actor because
Mhm.
it's that constant reflection. You're trying to understand how to serve the material as an
Yep.
actor, what you can do, what you can craft as the actor to bring your character fully to life. And sometimes like you have somebody that's also the writer and the director of a project, so you're finding yourself being curious about the words on the page that they created and
Yeah.
how you can best serve that material, so that you can do your job.
Okay. That's wow. That's really something to think about. Yeah. Okay. Tell me. Let's look at you and the process itself. Um, you've been handed a new role. How do you prepare for it? What? Just take us through the steps that you go through in preparation for your roles.
I mean, it goes back to the great teachers that I've had. Terry was such a lover and a nurturer of actors, but what I loved so much about him is he gave you a toolbox, that you could draw from. He's
Mhm.
worked with so many great actors and he's directed as well. So I think with him, because he knew so many different methodologies and acting processes that, he would teach you Stanislavski, he would teach you Meisner. He knew Lee Strasberg, which is the method approach. And I think it really depends on the role with me. I think I worked so hard in New York City understanding the technique of acting that now, in many ways, I try to tailor what I think the character needs to what process I approach the character with.
Okay.
For Fabian Verdugo in Somewhere in Montana, I really went full method for him because I felt like there was a lot of crossover between him and me. And
Mm.
so I felt like the more that I could let him in and the more that I could give myself over to him, the
Yeah.
more that I would have an impactful performance that was full of truth and honesty, which
Yeah.
is what you always strive to do as an actor. I lost 25 pounds for the role of Fabian Verdugo. I hired a nutritionalist team. Jennifer and Nathan DeTracy were really helpful for me
Yeah.
in losing 25 pounds and, leaning out basically because I felt like Fabian was one of those characters that forgot to eat meals. He cared
Wow.
more about others than he cared about himself. And so it really kind of sparked this ability to kind of get into the character's body
Yep.
and to feel like when I fully showed up to set for the first time that I had done so much work and preparation and writing backstories and creating kind of the methodology between how he thought and how he felt about certain things that then I could just kind of let it all go. And that's really kind of when the magic happens as an actor is when you do so much of the work,
Mm.
in bringing yourself to the character, whenever that process is for you. And then you're on set with so many masters of craft, including your fellow actor, and
Yeah.
you just, see what happens and you start to play. And again, you just say the words because at that point you don't even know what's going to happen. And that's where the real magic happens. comes with acting.
So would you say Somewhere in Montana was where would classify as your most challenging role yet, or has there been another one other than that one?
I feel like it actually has been my most challenging role. I feel like because I really did go a full method approach
Yeah, you
with it, I felt
mentioned that.
like, yeah, I felt like it really was something that, I had to keep kind of chipping away, really, just letting go of myself in this character. He's a character that I will say is the first character that I've ever truly fallen in love with. I really felt like I understood him. I really admired him, his fight, his tenacity, his ability to go after his dreams, because a lot of people say that they're going to go after their dreams in life, but they don't actually do it. And so I felt like for me, I felt like I understood Fabian
Mm,
and I gravitated towards him. And I
mm,
really, really wanted to bring as much of myself to the character as humanly possible,
mm,
because I feel like he deserved that. And I feel like Brandon's story really deserved that.
yeah. Okay, and then you talk about the preparation for this role and getting into the character. How do you get out of the character? So especially because I mean I've heard from the little I've read about actors and about the acting process. There has to be a disengagement at some point after the filming. How do you get out of that character? Is it something that just happens naturally?
Yeah, I think there's two parts of it. I mean, I think one is when you are in the process of, method acting, is that you ground yourself in basically two realities.
Mm,
You ground yourself in your reality as who you are.
mm,
So that would, for me, be off stage or off screen, having really wonderful conversations with, people that I was around, my fellow actors, my crew members, and being Matt, and not losing myself, because that's kind of the bad parts that you hear about method acting, is that people lose themselves. I feel like if you ground yourself
mm,
in your two realities, one being yourself, and then one being your character, I feel like you never lose yourself in either, but you have the ability to channel both together when you need them.
mm,
And so I feel like that's kind of the way that I take the approach of method, is that I always ground myself in, both realities, the reality of the character and the reality of myself.
mm,
And that way, when it's really go time, I've done all the work to channel the two together, so I can
mm,
bring them together very quickly, and go from there. As far as when the character is complete and you've given away the role,
mm,
I feel like sometimes for certain characters, and it really depends on what the character is. But for Fabian, I really learned so much from him that I adopted a lot of, his personality,
yeah.
I would say, and his drive into my life, because he really inspired me. As a filmmaker, as a director, he
Mm,
fought for something bigger than himself, and
mm,
and that's something that I wanted to take on with me for my next chapter, because I have my own production company
mm.
with my wife, and there's
Wow.
nobody better to collaborate with than someone that you love. She's a writer and I'm an actor, and so I felt like, what can I do to kind of keep, Fabian's heartbeat alive within myself? And I felt
Yeah.
like for me, that was, how do I become just not just an actor, but a true collaborator? And I feel like that for me is becoming a producer. And we're working on producing our first feature film in
Right.
the near future, and these are the things and the elements that you can take from a character that inspires you
Mm,
and really just utilize them, because again, you don't want to let go of something that made an impact on you, no
yeah.
matter what it is in life, right? So if a character makes a big impact on you and you've taken a lot of positive traits out of that character, why wouldn't you adopt that into your life however you can, and kind of use that towards your next chapter?
That's an
And
interesting one. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then
Because
there's also
you
times
don't
where
hear
you
that
let them go too.
often. You don't hear that
Yeah.
often, and I'm glad you've actually said that. And I can see the advantage of that because th- even just the logic behind it, you are spending a lot of time um, acting out a particular personality. And if there are positives to that personality, there's nothing that stops you from adopting it into your own psyche and making it a part of. I never even considered that as so. There is an advantage other than just being paid for what you do. There is the enrichment of adopting the new personality when it's actually useful for you as an actor.
Exactly. If it's useful for you. I mean, like I said, it really depends on the character. You're
Yeah,
not going to do that with obviously a darker
yeah,
character,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But, for somebody that is rich and passionate and, and inspired, is somebody that, yeah, I mean, like, why wouldn't I keep him close? I mean, I said this to Brandon when we wrapped, and I bought him this really nice sign carved out of barnwood that had, somewhere in Montana and all of the different sets, and actually a spot where it had an Irish penny because he gave me one and I gave him one back. And that's kind of one of Fabian's nervous ticks is he uses an Irish penny as like a worry stone when he's
Yeah.
thinking and when he's worried about something. And I really thanked him. I said, thank you for the role of a lifetime because this role, not only for me, was, booking the job. I mean, sure, that was great, or a break in my career. Sure, that was amazing. But so much of this role for me was how it impacted me in my life to, believe in myself and to really perpetuate me to start to, be more of a collaborator and build my own team. That way I can leave a couple good stories behind as a producer as well.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that. So do you prefer theater, television, or film acting? I mean, you've had experience from all of these in one way or the other. Do you have a preference?
They're all great. I mean, honestly, TV and film, I will say, are almost one and the same at this point.
Hmm.
TV productions are on such a big scale now
Yeah.
that they have, film budgets. You see shows like The Penguin, for
Yep.
instance.
Yep.
I mean that is basically a long form movie.
Hmm.
It's got the budget of a movie. So I look at like a lot of these, bigger shows that are TV or film as one and the same. And theater for me is something that I would love to go back to. There isn't a lot of TV or there isn't a lot of theater opportunities in LA, but I love theater. I love that I was born into the theater because theater is live. It's alive.
Hmm.
There's no safety net.
Yep.
There's no second takes, but there's a lot of pressure and technicality with TV and film acting too, because a lot of times, you have to do all this work and then you have one day to showcase that in the scene. So
Hmm.
you almost have to do all of this unique work and then like let it go. And so
Yep.
there's a lot of pressure innately on that as well. So you have to try to find different ways of just kind of enjoying what projects are meant to find you, whether it is theater, whether it is TV, whether it is film, whether it's a voiceover project, whether it's a commercial, anything that keeps you creative, that, puts food on the table, right? That pays the bills, that gets you to the next project is really the dream. So to answer your question, Kay, I don't really have a preference. Like I really love any opportunity I have to just say I get to wake up today and do what I love.
Wow. Okay. Amazing. So I I mean, let's talk a bit about sets, the movie set. What's it like? Is it as glamorous? You're with your fellow actors. Is it like a big club of people just, sitting down and just taking tea and biscuits while until the camera starts rolling? What's it like on set?
Yeah, I mean, the honest answer is it really just depends on the set, right? Every set is different. It basically be like how is it to live in this house or this house or this house? Well, I mean, it's in a different area. It's a different kind of house, right? So every unique set has unique challenges, unique pluses and minuses. I mean, I
Yeah.
can speak to somewhere in Montana. I would consider it my ideal set. We're in gorgeous Montana, looking out over God's wallpaper, set on the Flathead Lake, which is one of the biggest freshwater bodies of water lakes in the country, and
Yeah.
it's just a gorgeous area of our country in the United States. And so I feel like for me, it was a wonderful ecosystem that Brandon created when he assembled this cast and crew. And, our producers, Eden Matson and Joe Borden, really just, really gave us the space within the way that they constructed the scheduling. Was we really had time to really get to know each other,
Yeah.
which was really nice. You don't always get that with an independent film because usually there's a lot to do. There was a lot to do, don't get me wrong, but we would try to wrap at a certain point, in the day. That way we could, get dinners together and really talk shop. And it really dictated a lot of the incredible relationships that I came out of within this film, like my, friendship with Graham, my friendship with Michelle. These are two seasoned actors that, have become my friends in life and check up on me. And so I think that's because of a lot of the time that was given to us to really experience Montana and to experience each other and to understand that we were telling a story that was bigger than all of us. So, to answer your question, I mean, it really depends on the set. I mean, it could be that you're a day player on a long running TV show, and you might get 15-20 minutes to hang out with the actor that you're in the scene with, and then it's go time and you need to do the scene, and then you wrap, and then you're on to the next job. But for a feature film like this, it's definitely my ideal set, where we really got to know each other. We'd go on hikes together, we'd share our meals together, Graham and I would go get breakfast together. I mean, it was just a really special time, and I feel like it influenced so much of the final product of this movie because of the relationships that we developed off screen. You really could see that they translated on screen.
Oh wow! Do you have a So I mean, you've played a number of roles. I've particularly watched you in What Would Jesus Do? The Journey Continues. That was a very interesting role. I'll come to that one very soon. But you've played a number of roles. Do you have any roles you would aspire to play? So there are many characters in TV, movies, books, and all of that. Is there a role that or character that you would love to play someday?
Yeah, I feel like I definitely would love to go back to my Sicilian roots. I actually just went to Sicily for the first time last year with my cousin John, and I feel like it felt like home right away. Like I said, I was that young Sicilian kid growing up on, The Godfathers and Al Pacino and De Niro. So I feel like, I would love to work with, the great Francis Ford Coppola or, Martin Scorsese, or both if I was so lucky, because I just feel like they just really love actors so much. And I would just love to, pick their brains about all the little things that they've learned through the processes of all the great movies that they've created. So that would be a dream for me. I really look at it like the relationships. The roles are nice, but like just to be on set with these people is the gift. I always say this about Somewhere in Montana. Like, I feel like I've already won with this film because of the experience that I had within it and the relationships that I've developed out of it. And so I feel like that's kind of the way I look at my journey at this point is, just really getting to be around these masters of craft and really just kind of getting to have those heart-to-heart conversations are magical and special to me. So, yeah, to answer your question, Kay, I would say, to be in, to be working with some of the great actors and directors that I've admired since I've been a kid would be a dream come true for me. But also, the roles that, are meant to find you, 100% of the time will. So you have to just continue to enjoy the work and hopefully be at the right place at the right time. Hopefully the chips will fall as they may. But I do think that when you really enjoy the work and you enjoy being a true collaborator and serving the material as an actor, you become a true beacon of light, and you become more attractive to the people that will hopefully find you in your journey.
That's I can't help but sense the humility and confidence in and how you speak, and that's really truly inspiring to hear, and I know that's probably a lot from how you've grown up as well. So let's talk about a few key moments on set. Do you have any particular memories on set? And I'm also interested in improvisation. So I've heard a lot of actors and all say that this wasn't on the script and they had to pull a rabbit out of a hat, as that's the expression. But how has it been? Have you had any memorable ones, and have you ever improvised during acting?
Yeah, I think improvisation is everything in acting, and I think it's something that you have to do early and often, but you have to do the work in order to become a good improviser, right? And so I think a lot of times when you are, creating these characters, you have to find ways to, just do the work and then let go of the work at the same time within improvising. So I think that improvisation is key to any element of acting,
Yeah.
but you can't improvise until you've created all of those decisions
Yeah.
in creating a good character.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good one. Have you ever had any difficult co-stars?
Um,
Anyone
I
to work with?
No, I would say that honestly, like the actors that I've met and worked with have been, and I say this all the time, like actors are some of the most selfless human beings that I've ever met in my life. Like I really do. I feel like actors are just innately selfless people. They give you a lot of time and space
Hmm.
to create. And they give you a lot of space to collaborate. And so I really just love actors. I always have. They're my people. And
Hmm.
so I'm just always grateful for the ability to work with seasoned actors that have been doing it for so long.
Hmm.
And I think that's what's so special about being an actor is to get to be around other people that see the world the way that you do,
Hmm.
and love to tell stories just as much as you do.
Do you ever, so about roles, have you ever have you ever been rejected for a role before? And how did that feel?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kay. I mean, honestly, I feel like for me, it's um it's changed over time.
Hmm.
I feel like when I first started to, audition and, I was a little bit younger, I looked at it a little bit more, transactional. Like, I had to book the role to maybe impress an agent or a manager. I feel like if I'm being honest, I've gone through the process a little bit more where I start to look at it like um, just enjoy the audition. I
Yeah.
enjoy the opportunity to bring myself to a character, and I have no expectations past that. And so I think that's really honestly where you're in the sweet spot as an actor is just really looking at the audition as the win,
Hmm.
then bringing your best performance or your best take to the character. I mean, again, a lot of acting, and Tom Hanks says it, it's like is learning the lines, right? Is doing the work, right?
Hmm.
Is making some good choices. And that's really what good acting is, right? And so you have to find your process to do that. But sometimes you're not a fit for every role that you audition for.
Hmm. Hmm.
Sometimes people are looking for something that's different than you. But if you do good work and you show your commitment to serving the material if you were granted the part, I
Yeah.
feel like people remember that. I think it makes an impact on them. And, maybe it won't be this specific role that you
Yeah.
book, but maybe that casting director or that director or that producer will be like, Matt really brought it for this role. And I feel like he'd be great to work with. And he
Hmm.
seems to like really be a team player. And I feel like, this role wasn't really right for him, but maybe there's something that comes up that is, and we'll
Yeah.
bring him back in for that. So again, so much of this is just doing your job, doing the work, enjoying the process. If you love, acting, you should love auditioning. That's part of the process. And so I think that, you have to get to the point in your life and your career where you enjoy the audition,
Yeah.
you enjoy making a couple good, decisions about a character, and
Hmm.
then you have to let it go and move on to the next one. I think that's the job as the actor. And I think if you can do that and you can keep doing that, and continue to work on your craft and continue to enjoy creating great relationships in life, I
Yep.
think good things will come your way.
Yeah. And have you ever turned down a role, or will you ever turn down a role?
I mean, I think if I were to audition for the role, in my mind, I feel like I could be a fit for that role.
Okay.
So I typically I will only turn down the audition if I really don't feel like it's a good fit for me in the type of character
Yeah.
that I want to display,
Hmm.
in the type of story that I want to tell.
Yep.
I will do it respectfully before I even put myself on tape. That way I'm not wasting any of the
What
people's
time?
times
Yep.
that
Yep.
are that are casting it, because I don't want to put them in a precarious situation
Hmm.
where I've put myself out there for it in a way that shows, I want the role, or that I am part of the story, or that I do really appreciate the audition, and then to book it and then to not take it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be the only time. There've only been a few times where I would say that has happened, and it's just been because of the gratuitous, the gratuitous of the project
Yep.
just didn't align with my morals and values.
Mm,
And those were the only auditions that I've turned down that
yeah.
I can remember in my
Well,
career.
it's I really like um a lot of the answers you've given, because I haven't even considered, when thinking of actors and the film industry, it's rare to consider them as collaborators as part of the process. I would usually see them as there to just do a job and leave, but you seem to be very much invested in relationships and establishing that as part of the process. So you're not just doing a job, you see it as a project that you are part of that could even lead to other projects as well. And I think that's really, really good. So let's talk about your role. Before we talk about Somewhere in Montana, I want to talk about your role in um, What Would Jesus Do? The Journey Continues. I watched the movie and I spent a large time waiting for you to show up. I actually thought you were the first character that was shown in the movie. Because it starts off, I'm not going to spoil it for any of the audience who haven't watched it, but it does start off with a dark character breaking into a church and basically looking for a few things. And he was so hooded, I thought it was you. And I was like, okay, when is Matt going to reveal his face? But it turns out it wasn't you. And you came much later in that movie. And you came in as a very unhinged and slightly over the edge character, and I just wanted to know what it was like filming that and being part of that movie generally.
Well, it was a really nice compliment that I actually got from the director at the premiere, and he looked at me at one point, Gabriel Sabloff, and he said, "Matt, after the premiere, he said, Matt, we really made a mistake." And I said, "What do you mean?" "I think it came out great. Like it looks like it was awesome." And he said, "No, we like I made a mistake. We should have used you more. Like
Yeah,
we should have had you as like more of a defining force of evil in the character because you really
you were
brought it
defining
like that."
enough for me.
You were right, but he liked the energy and the character development that I brought because I made him like an unhinged psycho bully. Like he
Yeah,
really
basically.
he's somebody that's seeking conflict. Like he
Mm,
wants conflict, and
yeah.
so he instigates conflict. And so for me, it was a really cool learning experience because John Schneider, who is the lead of the film,
Yeah.
was there only for one day,
Mm,
and he shot all of his scenes in one day. I think he had 12 or 14 scenes in the
yeah.
film, and it really just taught me like what a pro
Mm,
looks like, to get to the point in your career where, you can headline a movie, but you're there for one day,
mm,
maybe working a 14 to 16-hour day.
mm,
And also, for that film specifically, we had to quickly create some fight choreography, and
mm,
I'm a lifelong martial artist, so I kind of raised my hand, and so we did a little bit of the fight choreography there,
yeah.
which was really gratifying for me because again, like I consider myself, and a lot of stunt people that I've worked with consider me an action actor, which means that I can match a lot of fight choreography because I understand
Yeah.
martial arts and I
The
know how to,
system of it. Yeah.
control myself, because a lot of fight choreography is all about control because you have
Mm,
these big emotions as an actor, but then you have to control it with,
yeah.
the actual
Yeah.
fight
But all the
choreography.
same,
That
still
way,
make
don't
it
hurt each other,
seem real
but
whilst
make it seem
controlling
real.
it. Yeah.
Exactly, so there is a definite creative art to it.
Mm,
So I feel like, for me, it just was a great learning experience. And again, I was there for 2 days and shot that one scene, but it was
mm,
a fun role, and I again created some great relationships from that one, and it definitely perpetuated me to keep going. I mean, every role is a gift, and I think
mm,
that's kind of the way that you have to look at it. It's
yep.
something that motivates you to the next and the next and the next. And so that was definitely one for me that definitely perpetuated things to come.
Yeah. So let me ask you about impressions. Do you do any impressions?
I mean, I don't really do a lot of impressions. I mean, I look at them more as like, I'll develop a character's voice and things like that, based on where I think the character's coming from, who I think he is, what his motif is. But I'm not like I don't really get into quote unquote like improv like I wish I just not improv but impersonations. Like I don't make that a part of my bag of tricks. I kind of more focus on the acting part of it. Because again, you look at like great actors, they're not impersonating the real life characters that they're portraying.
Yeah.
They are embodying them.
Mm,
So I try to stay away from impersonizing anything
okay.
and personalizations because I think that limits me to kind of this surfaced kind of way to go about it, and I really like to go a lot deeper.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. However, having said that, I've been trying a lot to impersonate AJ in What Would Jesus Do? The journey continues. I wanted to have a go because I'm a very bad actor, but I really enjoyed watching it more so because I was going to be speaking with you the next time, and so I tried to impersonate a few aspects of what he would say. So I have this one line from What Would Jesus Do? Um, the journey continues, and I wanted to deliver this one line to you and have you tell me what you felt about it because that was what AJ said. So I'm trying to get into AJ's personality. So help me here and then score me after I say this. So this is I need some time to calm the nerves and stuff.
Deep breaths.
I'll let
let
that
that
slide. I got my money.
I'm in
I'm in a good mood.
Nice. I like it. I like it. Yeah, he's threatening, He
He's-
wants every opportunity to show that he could destroy you if he wanted to. But he got what he wanted, so he's
yeah.
gonna, turn the other cheek because he's already won. For him, it's about dominance.
Hmm.
So, if he can walk out of there with the other people feeling smaller than him, then
Yeah.
he's already won.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's where I took it. I also took the liberty of the fact that we were in a church, to get a little bit, holy, right? Because like he obviously is not spiritual or religious at
Yeah.
any, he's the opposite of that.
Yeah.
He's the demonic character in
Yeah.
the story. So I really appreciated that we got to shoot that in a church
Yeah. Yeah.
because it really kind of let me kind of like look around and just kind of like jokingly like just kind of ask myself like, okay, this is your thing, but this is not mine. Like this is your world, this is
Mm,
not mine. I'm just here
mm.
to take from you and leave.
And
And
leave.
so yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So now that was fun. That was fun. I like that.
Thank you.
Nobody's ever done a scene that I've done back to me before, so that was pretty
Sorry,
fun. I like.
sorry. I was like, no, I'm gonna try this. I have to try it.
I like it.
The thing about me is I do things because I can. When I see something and it's fun, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try it. But now let's talk about Somewhere in Montana. I know it's taken a long while to get to this point, but I'm really looking forward to watching the movie. It's not out yet on streaming services, so I'm really looking out for it. But in a whole, as a whole, what would you say was the one thing you took out of this movie from the experience?
The
Act.
people.
Okay.
The people. I mean, really, honestly, okay, it's the people. It's the people that matter in life. Like, and that's a line from the film too. It's people that matter in life, not ideology, not ideologies, not things. People. People are what matter. And so I feel like for me, so much of this is just the richness of the relationships that I developed with the actors and Brandon. Brandon and I would spend hours like developing the character together, which
Yeah.
was some of the most impactful moments of me being part of this film was to spend hours on Zooms just like this and going through the different nuances of the characters and really just trying to find it together and then coming to set and having these deep rich conversations with people like Graham McTavish and Michelle Hurd. I mean, just they changed my life, you know. They mean so much to me, and having them in my life means so much to me. So it's really about the relationships. It's about that motivation of knowing that you belong, knowing that you are an actor that deserves to you know, be working because of the work that you've put into your craft, because of how much you care, because of how much of a collaborator that you are, and having that support from people that have been doing it for a long time, it just means the world to me. Like it really does.
Yeah, that's really good. Okay, now we've moved a lot away from acting. I'm going to come back and just ask a few more questions on acting, but let's talk about Matt a bit. What does Matt do when he's not on stage, when he's not behind or in front or behind the camera? What's Matt about?
I mean, I'm a pretty normal guy. You know, I got a little doggy here. You know, I got a
What
wife.
breed?
You know, we a Bichon Frise. She's like
Okay.
a little, yeah. If you look at my Instagram, you'll see
Okay.
her show up. She's pretty cute. She's like a little white fluffy teddy bear. But you know, I really do. I try to find little joys in my life outside of acting. You know, going out to a nice dinner with my wife. You know, curling up and watching a football game with my dog and her, and just really, you know, whether it's a nice hike or, you know, an outing with my friends playing golf. You know, just enjoying the other things that are outside of acting, I feel like are the best way that you can maintain your love for what you do.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's cool. And do you still do martial arts from time to time, or is that another part of your life that you have put on a pause for now?
No, not at all. I mean, it's definitely a part of me. It always will be. I actually last year on May 4th, Star Wars Day, May the 4th,
Yeah,
went
I'm
for my fourth degree black belt, which was perfect because my dad's birthday is May 3rd. So I got to spend my dad's birthday with him and then go for my fourth degree black belt the next day. And it's a practice that, you know, will always be a part of me. I feel like it was definitely a full circle moment in my, you know, my journey as a martial artist was to come back, and even though it was a little bit harder living across the country from my dojo, me being on the West Coast, it being on the East Coast, was to come back and to as quickly as possible kind of, you know, basically remember all the things that I've known my whole life in the practice. And
Yeah.
I just got some really wonderful feedback from people that have been doing it so long that it really just came back to me. And that it was just so impressive what I had accomplished. And I think it really just kind of comes back to the fact that I grew up as a karate kid.
Mm,
It's like, you know, it comes back to me because the second that I'm on the dojo deck, I'm like a kid again. Like
yeah.
it's something that I was born into. So it's a part of who I am. And yeah, martial arts will always be a part of who I am. I think they dictate a lot of who I am as an actor. And I am very grateful to have Okinawan Shorin-ryu karate in my life.
Wow. Okay. Thanks for that. Now, we're gradually coming to the end of this conversation, but there's something that's really been coming up of late, you know, the past couple of years with regards to Hollywood and actors and just the state of the industry, especially most recently, what's been an issue has been the rise of AI and a lot of strikes with writers, with actors as well. I just wanted to get your general comments on that and your state of mind when you reflect on any of those issues.
Yeah, it's challenging and it's not going anywhere. And, you know, you're either going to have to live with it, you know, because it's something that obviously is going to affect the industry in many ways. So you have to learn how to adopt it, but also not allow it to take over. Because I
Mm,
do say this, Kay, I mean, like human stories matter
yeah.
more now than ever before. Like we need to see real humans have real emotions, you know, tell stories that are from their heart, that are not computer generated.
Mm,
If we give away art to a machine, we will be giving away everything, in my mind. And I'm speaking to a fellow artist, so I think I think you understand that
yep.
too. You
Yep.
know what you're doing. You know this whole podcast in drawing is so beautiful because
Yep.
you're creating something that's uniquely coming from you, from your soul, from
Mm,
your mind, from your heart. And you know you can't give that away to a computer generated, you know, again, I really do. I feel like that would be the last step in losing ourselves in our humanity is
mm,
if we gave away art, because art is a reflection of humanity, right?
yeah.
So I think the most important thing that we do is we limit where it exists in the practice of art.
Okay.
Um, can we use the tools of it, maybe to be, a little bit more productive? Maybe, yes, sure. But we can't let it be the forefront of our storytelling, because if it is, again, I fear what it will mean to our society, because art has meant so much for so many generations, in throughout our history,
Yeah.
dating back to the hieroglyphics, right? And
Yep.
so these are stories that human beings need to tell. They need to
Yep.
tell them proudly, and we need our unions to protect us, in every way that they can, to make sure that they are not fully giving, way to the machine.
Yep. Yep. Thanks for that comment. That's something to really consider. So before I really come to showing you the art, because I'm really done with the art I made for today. But I do have a question
Can't wait.
on your any advice you have for aspiring actors. So take me as someone who's just fresh on the scene. What advice would you have for me?
Enjoy the journey. The journey is the destination. And I think the more that you can enjoy the journey in the little wins that you have, whether it be an audition, I'm shooting 2 auditions right after the Zoom call today. I'm really excited because they're 2 uniquely different roles, and I'm gonna bring it and enjoy it, but then I'm gonna let it go. And you have to find ways to escape, to keep your passion alive, right? You can't be all in all the time, or you'll burn yourself out.
Yeah.
So, enjoy different things outside of yourself. I mean, I can tell that you love drawing, Kay, but like I'm sure that there are a lot of other things that you love too, that keep your love for your art alive, and so you have to nurture it. You can't just be all in all the time. So find different things that you love, and most importantly, align yourself with people that lift you up and never bring you down. People that inspire you, people that are there for you, people that support you, and keep aligning yourself with those people. Become a beacon of light. Enjoy the journey, like I said, then you become more attractive, and I really do believe that you will find your path.
Oh, thank you. That's a really kind thing you've shared. So I wanted to find out if you've already said you've gone for two, or you'll be going for two auditions after this Zoom call. But what's next for you in the career without you giving out too much? Is there something on the horizon that to expect from Matt Drago with regards to movies, film, or theater?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's just getting back to the industry starting up. I mean, LA has been through a lot with the wildfires this year.
Yeah.
We've been through,
Yeah.
multiple strikes, in our industry, so things are just picking up again. So, I'm an auditioning actor, and I audition whenever, wherever I can. But I'm also focused on my production company, and my wife, and basically, being a producer and being a collaborator within my own, collaborative art, and not just waiting for the phone to ring. So, I think there's a lot of moving parts. I'm always looking for things to come my way, but putting myself out there in the best way possible, and seeing the chips, land as they may.
Matt, thank you for sharing your time with us. As part of my podcast, I usually make art to show people exactly, it's like a reflection of the conversation I'm making. And so whilst we were speaking, the art I was able to make is, let me see if I can show you this character. So
Nice.
I need to show you properly. So this character, this is AJ, and I just have there, I'll let that slide. Now, this is one of the characters that I've definitely seen you act, and I tried to get a representation of your face. It's not complete
Yeah.
yet, but I am working on it. So this is me saying, obviously, I cannot repay you for the time that you've spent on this, and you brought value to my podcast. But I'm going to get this out done. I'm going to send it together with a letter of appreciation just because of the value you've brought here. You're the first Hollywood actor that I've spoken with, so I feel really pumped about it. So thank you very much, Matt.
How cool is that, Kay? No, thank you. This has been a wonderful conversation. I love it. That is really, really cool. He's a badass. I can
He
tell in
is.
his eyes. Yeah. Yeah. No, this has just been a really wonderful, rich, rewarding conversation. I thank you so much for having me on your show. And yeah, for all your listeners, follow me on the journey. You can find me on Instagram at Matt Drago, MattDrago. Like I said, from there you you've got my link tree, so follow along. You'll be part of the journey. You know, I share tidbits about, you know, my life as well as being an artist because they're one and the same. And so, you know, just having rewarding conversations like this become part of my journey too. So I thank you again, and thank you for your artwork, and thank you for being an artist. That is so important. Really, we need more of us, right? Because again, artists are the people that are innately in touch with their own humanity, and we are all collectively better when we're in touch with our own humanity. And so I feel like art is a great way to do that. So keep spreading art, keep spreading love, and I really appreciate you having me on your show today, Kay.
Oh, thank you very much, Matt. And so here's me wishing you the best. I can't wait. Again, I can't wait for Somewhere in Montana to come out on the streaming services. I really want to see you act and deliver your lines. And I'm gonna definitely be watching your space to see what's gonna come up. And I can't wait to have you on this show again. Thank you very much.
Sounds good, my friend. I appreciate you.
All right, so everyone, again, this is Matt. Please follow him on social media and just spread the love and let's watch and see what comes out in future for him. Thank you very much, Matt. Have a blessed day, and I can't wait to see you again.
You do the same, my friend. Thank you.
Take care now. Bye.